Hi, and welcome to the LINC Talks podcast. My name is BonnieRuth, and I'm your host today. And I'm so excited for the conversation that I get to have with these ladies, my friends, my co-laborers, and we're going to talk about developing friendship. How do you do that on every level? As a leader, how do you do that just as a woman? How do you do that as someone who is leading their family? What ways can we develop and maintain our friendship? So I have Pastor Christine with me today. I have Pastor Alison, and I have Pastor Tasha. And so we're going to dive in. All right. So my first question for you guys is, what does a healthy friendship look like to you? And anyone can answer. Who wants to jump in first?
I think it looks like a two-way street.
Yeah.
Like I'm given,
Yeah.
and you're given. It's not one-sided. So
Yeah.
I think that's what a really healthy relationship and friendship looks like.
Yeah.
Especially if there's honesty and authenticity. Like I don't have to be fake with you.
That's good.
I could be authentic and real. Right?
Yeah. I think it has to be real.
Yeah. What does real look like?
You're vulnerable with each other.
That's good.
Right? Like you're struggling through something and you're willing to share that with us, with a close group of people.
Yeah.
You don't have to share it with everybody.
Yeah. What would you say, Tasha?
Yeah, I agree with both of them. And to add on to what Pastor Christine said, it's a give, but you don't expect something in return necessarily.
Yeah, that's good.
When you are in a healthy relationship and friendship with somebody, you shouldn't give just to expect something in return.
Yes,
you give selflessly.
Yeah.
And you're vulnerable selflessly.
Yeah.
So that they can just see who you are.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I was thinking when we were preparing for this conversation about friendship also flows in the season that it is in.
That's right.
Meaning your friendships can ebb and flow in seasons.
Yeah.
And so it's you being willing to be grace-filled to that. And then also the other person being grace-filled to that. Because our seasons can ebbs and flow, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I think I really value that in a good, healthy friendship. Like our seasons are just going to be what they are. And how does our friendship develop in that, So, okay, let's talk about how do you make friends as adult women? Like, am I the only one that thinks that's a little difficult sometimes?
Yes.
Like, it's hard. It's hard.
It is.
So what would you guys say has been like a value that you've picked up or a way that you pursue relationships? Because I think in order to make friends, we have to be friends.
Yeah.
Be friendly. So what are some ways that you guys have found that you've had to do that?
I think that you have to be intentional.
That's good.
Like you don't just fall into a friendship.
Yeah,
you don't just fall into this close relationship with people. You have to be intentional.
That's right.
Something for me is I have a lot of children, and when my kids were young, I was home a lot.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I did to be intentional was I planned a Wednesday morning breakfast.
Love it.
Like Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., come over, I will make breakfast and we can sit and our kids can play, but we would have time together.
That's awesome.
Like 2 to 4 hours of just hanging out, and it's an intentional time I scheduled and put on my calendar.
good.
Because if it doesn't go on my calendar, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's right. That's good.
That's awesome.
Be
What about you,
intentional.
Christine?
I was going to say the exact same thing as intentionality.
Yeah.
But what I loved about that is the fact that we were at a luncheon one time and I realized that all the women around were afraid to reach out to everybody else because we realized how busy we were.
Yeah.
So we automatically assumed, well, if I'm this busy, you're that busy, so I won't reach out to you. Or you're that busy, so I won't reach out to you.
Yeah.
So you started doing life alone, right?
Yeah.
And until somebody said that out loud, then we're like, no, just reach out. If I'm too busy, I'll let you know, hey, can I call you back in 2 hours?
Yeah.
Hey, can I call you in 2 days?
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. But it was that same thing, that intentionality of, hey, we're all busy, but I want to have a relationship with you. So when I reach out, and I love this app called Marco Polo.
Yes.
When I reach out, it doesn't mean that you're going to watch it right away or listen to it right away, but I know you are going to listen to it and respond, right? And so same thing Pastor Alison said is that intentionality.
Yeah. I love how you're bringing up some really practical, I hope people listening are hearing what you guys are saying, like some very practical, actual steps that you can take to like develop friendships that isn't just like, can we go to coffee? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, can we go for dinner? Like you may not have time for that, but you can Marco Polo or you can do once a week a 2-hour dinner that you carve out or breakfast. Yeah, that's great. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to add on to the intentionality because I've always said, like, you make time for what you want to make time for.
Yeah, that's
right.
good.
And so even if you have friendships that are long distance, like, for example, like me and Pastor Christine, like, we have a friendship, but we are intentional about the Marco Polo, but we also understand and respect, like, I know she's busy, so I know she's not getting back to me in, like, not on purpose, you know what I mean? Like, she'll get back to me when she can, but I also know, like, she's going to prioritize that.
Yeah.
But being intentional, and even if there is distance, like, you can still nurture healthy friendships, even if you don't live in the same city or anything like that, by means of, like, Marco Polo or FaceTiming or, you know, just scheduling those things, and even putting them in your schedule. Like, okay, today I'm going to Marco Polo her at this time so that I know I'm doing it, and you're making time for what you want to make time for.
Well, and I think, like, pre-COVID, right, or post-COVID, I should say, sorry, post-COVID, we don't really have an excuse to not stay connected. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we didn't learn anything out of that crazy time, like, surely we learned to be connected, you know, in some way. And so I actually appreciate that, and that it forced us to find ways to connect with people that we care about. And so for me, it's like, you know, I've texted Pastor Alison and been like, hey, can we Zoom? Like, do you want a Zoom call? Like, and we just chat about anything and everything. Like, it's not even like a planned conversation around something. It's just like, let's connect. And it's been a while, and texting isn't sufficing, you know? So like, how do we, like, heart to heart? And so I just think, post-COVID, like, I just don't think we have an excuse. And with technology today, there's so many ways. I also don't think it should be an excuse to not, like, be in person with people, you know? But it is a way to be intentional, like you guys are talking about.
And I love, like, when you texted and said, hey, let's set up a Zoom, you were like, when can you do it? It was like, what, a month out? It was like, I can schedule you at the end of January. And it was like, awesome. I cannot wait to connect. Like, I love, like, it doesn't have to be so much pressure. It has to just be real. Like, it has to just flow in our lives, right? Like,
well, and to Pastor Christine's point, like, the reality is, you may not can get back to me, but if we have a clear understanding of that and what that looks like, then we can value and appreciate each other's times. But we also can't pre-assume.
Right.
You know, and I think as women, sadly, we do that. Like, we project a lot. And we compare and we project. And so if we've already started comparing ourselves to that person, then we start projecting, oh, well, if I feel this way, then they probably feel that way. And then, and we do this thing up
in our
here.
head.
And then we don't connect. So as we play this game in our mind, I think we cut relationships off before they've even had a chance to start.
That's right.
And it's sad. And it breaks my heart because we do a disservice to ourselves. But then the enemy comes in and plays these lies of, like, well, I don't have any friends. Or I'm not connected. Or no one's being my friend. No one's reaching out to me. No one cares. And he just starts us down a path. When really it is the intentionality. As soon as we're intentional, as soon as we're intentional, it shuts that lie down. Because then we are connected, right? So were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I have it written on my board at home that we shouldn't prioritize our schedule, but we should schedule our priorities, right? And like if my friends are a priority to me, they're going to be on my schedule. So, like, literally in my schedule, I had, 2 weeks ago or last week, I literally blocked off the day and put BR because I knew that she's a priority in my life. That friendship is a priority, you know, and I will block it off.
I love that. So let's talk about, like, within the LINC family. Okay. We are all people leading in some capacity, right? In some role that we're leading other people. But within the LINC family, how do you make friends? How do you show up to a Gather and Grow, or to a senior pastors retreat, or to the LINC conference? How do you guys, and what have you done to engage and build friendships in those environments? Because I always say, and all three of you have heard me say this, I harp on it. Like, we can provide the opportunity, but we can't make it happen for you. And so our heart, like, everything we do, all the work that we put into it, a moment and into the environment is literally for that. It's for you to connect with God and be refreshed. And then it's also for you to connect to one another. So I want to hear from you guys. How do you do that? You know, I get to set it up and then you guys get to run with it. And so I want to hear from you, like, how have you worked to develop friendships within the LINC family?
I would say for me, when I first went to the senior pastors retreat, I was really intimidated, to be honest. And I just kept telling myself, like, you just have to get out of your comfort zone, right? Good. You just had to get out, because that is not comfortable for me to approach somebody. Yeah. Typically, I'm just like, okay, people can come to me if they want to talk or whatever. But I just told myself, you're here to build connection. And I was craving having other like pastors' wives and leaders in ministry, like that who were women, to like create relationship with and stuff. I was really craving that. So I just was like, you know what? I just have to take the first step maybe. That's good. Not everyone is going to approach you because maybe they're thinking the same thing.
Let's just be honest.
No, they did.
LINC family should be friendly,
like,
okay?
They run to you, you know, but still, like, there's people I'm like, okay, wait, I want to like intentionally connect with her. Like I talked and like there was a connection there. And so I want to nurture that. And I just had to break out of my comfort zone and be like, you know what, let me get your number, let me get your Instagram, let's connect, let's talk more. And just kind of like, just putting yourself out there. It really is just putting yourself out there.
That's good. I love that. Alison?
Yeah. Again, it goes back to friendships don't just happen, right? They take effort and they take work and they take that first initial step. So for me, I started coming to LINC events years and years ago. And my mother-in-law was already part of LINC, and so she knew tons of people. So I just kind of like shadowed her. I would follow her, and she would introduce me, and then I met other people that had things in common with me. Whether we had both just had a baby, or we are both in the same size church, or we're in the same ministry, or just different things. Like finding connections with people, and if you can connect on a certain level, that's where it starts, and then it can grow.
That's good.
And so now I walk around and I look around the room like, who don't I know that I could go and connect with?
That's good. I do love that about you.
I like to find who I don't know and challenge myself. Like, how many new people? Can I meet at least 3 new people on this event that I didn't know before?
That's awesome. I love that.
And LINC has created so many opportunities to make friends, right? And so one of the ones that I resonated heavy with is the cohorts. So I was part of the women's lead women cohort, and I was part of the worship cohort. So even just being a part of a group text, and then seeing the names of the people and being able to say, "Are you going to the conference? Hey, I want to see you in person." Even if it's just to give you a hug and say whatever. And that's good. That has been one of the easiest ways. Is one being a part of a cohort and resonating with somebody. Like this past 2 weeks ago, I was able to reach out to 2 or 3 different worship leaders. Like, hey, what are you guys doing for Easter? What songs are you doing? You know, and that was our connection is worship. But then a friendship was built because of that.
That's really good. I love that.
I would also add that there are so many things that you have to just say, I'm going to do it. Right? Like the luncheons that we did a couple years ago.
Amazing.
They were fantastic. They were it was exactly what I needed at that time. But I had to decide, like, am I going to drive to get there? Am I going to do the effort to get there? And I did, and it had so much value. But I got to put it on my calendar. I got to decide that this is where I want to go. This is where I want to be.
And I think for us ladies, it's making us a priority in that we do calendar something. And so it's valuing the time, the money, because we can like talk ourselves out of a lot of things, you know, like, I need to do this instead. I've got this, you know? And so I think I hear all of you saying like, you've got to calendar it, and that's part of being intentional. But even beyond that, you're giving such good practical like examples. I love it. What about like when you do see someone who you don't know and you're like, okay, I really feel drawn to that person. I want to get to know them. What are like, this is going to be so low level practical, but I just feel like it's important because we minimize how important the low level practical is. And that is like, what is the first thing that you say to someone when you're like introducing yourself? Like you don't know the person. Let's say we're at, retreat and you see somebody across the room and you're like, I don't know them. What do you do? Like, how do you approach them?
My go-to is, hi, I'm Alison. What church are you from?
Yep.
I love it.
Where do you go to church? Where
it's
are
always
you
a
from?
church.
That's my go-to.
I love it.
All the time.
Yeah.
Because it sparks a conversation. What do you do there? How long have you been there? How's it going?
Yeah.
And then it snowballs, right?
Yeah.
So that's my intro.
I love it. And I think I think to conference, right? Like that's such a big environment. We've got, 700 plus leaders in a space, right? How do you meet people and make friends? And I always in those environments, even though I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, I'm seeing people as I'm going. And so I always just stop and be like, oh, hi, I'm BonnieRuth. I haven't met you yet. Which hope to God I really haven't met them yet. Because in the moment, right?
You met me 3 times.
Yeah, you met me 3 times. Usually that doesn't happen. But I'm just like, oh, I'm BonnieRuth. I haven't met you yet. What's your name? And that just leads into where did you fly in from? You know, what church are you with? And the things that can lead to are like, okay, so here's my go-to. After I've done that, because I want to learn the person, right? And once you've learned their name and their church or whatever, where else are we going? So I'm like, oh, I really like that shirt. Where'd you get it?
I was just about to say.
Or I find something I like.
I'm an encourager. So if I see an outfit that you have on that's amazing, I'm going to approach you and be like, oh my goodness, you're rocking that. That's awesome. If it's a dude like, oh my gosh, I like Jordans. I love those shoes that you have on. Whatever it is, and start a conversation around that.
Yeah,
it could be somebody on, I post something. If I see somebody on the stage and maybe they shared a testimony and it resonated with me, I will go back and let them know that testimony was so awesome. And that sparks a conversation. It's just
that's good.
Being real. Really, but I'm an encourager, so that I always look to make people smile and happy.
I like to find something that I like that I can encourage the person with or draw a connection point out. And we're leaders. Come on, we're teaching other people to do these things, right? And I always think about how if we're teaching our volunteer teams to do this and we're not doing it on a personal level, then it's like we gotta figure that out. So, what were you going to say, Tasha?
I was going to say the same thing. I love to compliment people's clothes or their hair or whatever. And so that's a good lead way into finding out more about them or, just something that can connect you as well. Oh, we have a similar taste of style or whatever. And then you're like, well, who are you? Tell me about yourself, all that kind of stuff.
That's really good. That's good. Okay, so let's move into how do you've made friends? We've talked a lot about how we can make friends. How do we maintain friendships? And I know that might sound like a similar question to intentionality, but let's go past intentionality. What are some just practical things that you've done, or what is a value that you've created of why and how do you maintain something that if you live far away or whatever? So more of even the heart level of it. We've talked about some practical things, but anybody jump in?
Wow, I don't even know where to go with that.
I know.
Okay, I'll start. So I'll get you guys going. I think for me, it's realizing that I have a core need, just like everybody else. We're all created to be seen and to be known. And so if I know that that's in me and it's in Alison, then I want to make sure that I let Alison know that I see and know her. And so that's a core value that I've created in maintaining my friendships. And people always joke around oh my gosh, you have so many best friends. I do. I love having friends. And part of it is because I value that. Yeah. And so I think that's more where I want to go is what's the value of why you see the need to maintain the friendships? Because we can keep surface level all day, right? But how do you maintain it and develop it and keep it going?
One, I would say spiritual aspect of that is actually pray for your friends. That's a, pray for them. Yeah. And that can develop even things like the Holy Spirit will drop something in you to share with that friend to encourage them, or you're thinking about them. And you're like, let me send them a text right now. Yeah. That's instead of waiting to do it later. But that you don't know what that person has been through in that day. Yeah. And so it's the Holy Spirit dropping it in you to be text them, reach out to them, tell them you're praying for them, you're thinking about them, or ask them, how can I pray for you? Yeah, that's good. That. And that can be something you can maintain. How can I pray for you today? What's going on in your life? can I pray for you now? Can you get on a phone call and pray? Like doing those kind of things to have that connection spiritually so that your friendship can go deeper, and that builds trust, right? And that allows them to open up and be more vulnerable, and then you can connect further in that.
Good. Yeah, I love that. I have a friend that just came to my mind a couple weeks ago, and when I haven't seen her for a couple weeks, when she came to church, I cornered her. I was like, hey, I just want to let you know I haven't seen you for a while, and I haven't heard from you, and I haven't talked to you, and I just want to let you know that like you're missed. I love you. And that really struck her, you know, and she was very emotional about it, and she's like, it's so good to be seen. That's awesome. And you know, you just got to make your friends know that they're important to you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and as you guys were speaking, especially when you were talking about feeling the need to love on somebody and be loved also and be seen, I was thinking of a journey. Like we always say that term, it could be used so loosely. Oh, you need to journey through life with somebody. You need to journey through life. But it's real. It's like, I need somebody to go through life with me. I don't need to do it by myself, but I need somebody to celebrate with me, but I also need somebody to call me out. Or not even call me out, sorry, call me upwards. Like if I'm struggling, if I'm doing something, I need to be able to rely on somebody to call me upwards. And I need to be able to do that to this person as well. Like if I see them in a mess, if I see them in a funk, or whatever the case may be, I need to be there to be like, hey, let's pull up our bootstraps, let's do this. You know, I'm praying for you, I'm encouraging you. And so that journey in life, you can't do it alone. So you need those people.
We're better together, right?
Yeah, exactly. Our theme this year is building legacy together. And why I thought this conversation, as we're kind of wrapping up, was so important is because we can't actually build legacy by ourselves.
No, that's right.
We need each other. And so, you know, we're all talking some girl chat today, but even for our guys within our LINC family, like you may not do it the same way that we are talking today, but you can be intentional in the way that you can be. You can be someone who sees and knows people and takes time to show that care. And, you know, guys normally bond over common experiences, right? So create those, you know? So as we wrap up, I just want to give each of you an opportunity to just give like one encouragement to our LINC family, both men and women. Let's make it across the board of like developing and maintaining friendships. Let's start with you, Tasha.
Yeah, I was going to say the example in the Bible that came to my mind of like friendship, and people don't really see this as friendship, but this came to mind, is when Moses and he's fighting the battle, and Aaron and Hur came and lifted his arms, and as long as his arms were lifted and they were assisting him, like they were winning the battle. That's good. And that's what we need, like as like LINC community, Christians, like people together, like we are in battle together, and we need people to come and lift our arms. Awesome. And so like what that looks like is encouragement, prayer, just texting someone to tell them you're thinking about them, you know, or actually like interceding for them, like, and even deeper than that. And so that's what came to my mind about like maintaining friendship, but on a deeper level, like we lift each other up, you know, we're lifting our arms as we're in battle together. So
that's good.
And to add to that, we all bring something to the table. We all have value. We all have certain gifts and talents that God has given us, that when we combine them and we join them together, we will all, you know, press forward together, and we're better together.
And a practical thing for me is like everybody's life is full. So stop making excuses at the end of the day. And reach out.
That's good. That's good.
I love
that. Well, LINC family, thank you so much for joining our conversation today. I hope that you have taken in that you're valuable, first of all, to this family, and that we want to be your friends, but also that you are challenged and encouraged and inspired to reach out and be a friend, and to take that time to be intentional, and to take that time to show someone that you see them and you know them. And so I just hope you heard all these incredible tips that these ladies shared, and that you have a great day.